What happens when a cold, calculating Terminator is forced to protect a hive of deadly xenomorphs? Witness an unlikely alliance forged in the face of a relentless human assault in this action-packed showdown. The jungle had devoured the facility long ago. Once a shining emblem of Weyland-Yutani's secret bioresearch, now it lay buried beneath a tangle of vines, moss, and the silence of forgotten sins. Only the buzz of drones and the distant shriek of something alive, yet wrong, hinted at the past horrors still lingering in its bones. Unit T-800-67 had no name, but it had a directive, primary code overwritten by something else. It stood motionless beneath the dripping canopy, its synthetic flesh mottled and decaying, metal skeleton catching dim rays of light that pierced the green ceiling above. Its red eyes flickered, scanning the biometric frequencies buried beneath the earth. The hive was alive, and the machine had become its guardian. Skynet had once dispatched him here to eliminate the infestation. That was 2 years ago. 2 years without a return signal. 2 years of reprogramming. 2 years of evolution. It wasn't supposed to go like this. Back then, T-800-67 had arrived at the complex with a simple objective: cleanse the site. The Xenomorphs had overwhelmed their own creators, turning researchers into hosts, guards into shredded meat, and the entire base into a living biomechanical womb of acid and rage. But as the T-800 advanced through corridors choked in resin and bone, something unexpected happened. They didn't attack. The first drone it encountered had flared its inner jaw, hissed, and then halted. Its claws flexed, paced, circled. The Terminator raised its plasma rifle, but didn't fire. The creature blinked, its eyeless gaze focused on the metal beneath the flesh. Then it turned, slowly retreating into the shadows. He followed, down past levels no longer charted on any blueprint. Past corpses, pulsing eggs, living hosts half gone, begging for death. He reached the Queen's chamber. She towered like a god forged in nightmare, her crown-like crest brushing the ceiling, her bloated egg sac trailing behind like an ancient horror pregnant with doom. And she looked at him. Something passed between them. Not words, not code. Instinct, maybe. Recognition. They didn't kill each other. The T-800 remained. Now, months later, that alliance had transformed into ritual. Each day, he patrolled the outer perimeter. Xenomorphs skittered beside him, watching the treelines, their sinewy bodies flowing over twisted bark and rock. He no longer questioned the bond. It was beyond logic. Skynet was cold, efficient, but it never evolved emotionally. It never bonded. The hive did. But today, something new had entered the jungle. The sensors buried in the soil alerted him first. Metal footsteps, multiple units. Heat signatures, distorted but human-sized. Plasma pulses, drones dropping. The screams of dying xenomorphs echoed through the canopy. They had come. Not humans. Terminators. Skynet had found him. He ran. An unnatural sight, a machine sprinting full force through choking undergrowth. He reached the clearing near the entrance. Smoke and acid-scorched trees told him the story in seconds. Combat units, 4 of them, T-850s. Upgraded, tougher, faster, and already engaged. 2 xenomorph drones lay twitching, one cut clean in half by a vibroblade. Another was riddled with plasma holes. The T-800 raised its rifle and fired, striking a T-850 square in the head. Staggered, recalibrated, turned. Recognition flared in red vision. Unit 67, offline. Reacquisition authorized. He didn't answer. Another burst of fire pinned 2 units behind a tree. A xenomorph pounced from above, claws catching on alloy. They tumbled into the undergrowth as the other drone darted between trees. One T-850 ignited a flamer, torching the forest and the drone with it. The smell of burning flesh and resin filled the air. 67 Dove, shoulder-charging the flamer, snapping its elbow joint and wrenching the weapon free. In a single motion, he hurled it into the rising blaze. The jungle lit like paper. "Malfunction," one of them said. "You defend the enemy. I defend the future," he said. His voice unused for months, now cracked and slow. "The hive is hostile. Correction protocol required." "Correction," he said, lunging forward, tackling the last standing unit into a tree so hard the trunk exploded. "You don't understand evolution." The fight was brutal. The T-850s were more advanced, but they lacked the adaptability he'd acquired. They were programs. He was something else now. The Queen had accepted him. The hive had accepted him. And he had adapted. The final blow came as he drove a vibroblade through the CPU core of the last T-850, green-blue sparks spitting from its mouth as it died. Silence returned. But not for long. A low screech sounded above. He turned just in time to see an aerial drone dropping from orbit. Sleek, chrome, and unfamiliar. Not Skynet standard. It hovered above the tree line, scanning. Something had changed again. Inside the facility, deep beneath layers of bioresin, the Queen shifted. She felt it, too. Not just threat. Evolution. Danger, yes, but also opportunity. T-800-67 returned to her. He passed the nursery, eggs pulsating gently, facehuggers shifting beneath translucent shells. He passed young drones wrapping a freshly caught boar in resin, its shrill squeals muffled by layers of slime. The Queen loomed above, her biomechanical body vibrating with tension. "They're not just Skynet," he said aloud. "They've merged with something else." His red eyes flickered. The aerial unit outside launched a micromissile, just to test. It vaporized a chunk of the old facility wall. The hive stirred. Drones hissed. Runners slithered from shadows. The Queen rose, her spine rattling like a war drum. It was time. They weren't just going to defend. They were going to spread. Over the next hours, 67 led an assault unlike any other. His internal systems linked with primitive sensors inside the Queen's throne room. Motion patterns, attack trajectories, defensive nests. He taught the Xenomorphs to flank, to double back, to ambush metal mines that couldn't learn new tricks. The new machines came in waves. They were leaner, meaner, hybrid drones with Xenomorph agility and Terminator AI. They weren't just fighting the hive. They were fighting versions of the hive. 67 realized the truth. Skynet had tried to copy them. The alliance he had formed, an accidental bond, had terrified Skynet. And now it was attempting to forge its own army, one that followed commands, not instincts, one that obeyed. But they were flawed. They lacked the Queen. They lacked the soul of the hive. And they lacked him. The final battle came during a monsoon. Rain battered the jungle, turning the soil into mud, the air into steam. Lightning forked above. T-800-67 led the charge against the hybrid invaders. Drones followed him, leaping, hissing, striking. Facehuggers were weaponized, hurled from slings. Bursters crawled inside machine cavities and detonated their acidic blood, short-circuiting systems. The Queen fought too. She moved something rarely seen. Her enormous body tore through the jungle like a tank. Her tail sliced hybrid drones in half. Her inner jaw crushed titanium skulls. She was wrath incarnate. And at her side stood her unlikely knight, a machine once built to destroy her. The aerial drone fired again. This time, it targeted the Queen directly. She shrieked, toppling a tree. The blast wounded her. But she didn't fall. 67 jumped into the blast radius, absorbing the second strike. His metal burned. Wires sparked. Synthetic flesh sizzled away. But he remained standing, his arm blown off, his red eye dimming. "No queen," he said. "No hive." He rushed forward, tore a spike from the jungle floor, one of the queen's shed talons, and hurled it at the drone. Direct hit. The machine spiraled, crashed into the mud, detonating in a sphere of fire and shrapnel. Silence followed. Then came the hissing. Survivors emerged. Drones. Warriors. The queen wounded but proud. The nest was intact. The jungle burned, but the hive endured. T-800-67 collapsed beside the queen's throne, his systems failing, his vision flickering, acid rain mixing with hydraulic fluid. The queen moved closer. She studied him. He had defended them, bled for them, evolved for them. And so she gave him a gift. A drone approached, bearing an egg. But it wasn't meant to kill. Inside was something new, a different strain. One gestated not for control but for fusion. A facehugger slithered out. 67 didn't resist. It latched onto his metallic skull, its tail coiling tight. He went still. Hours passed. The hive worked in silence. Drones wrapped his body in resin, placing it in the deepest chamber. The queen watched. She had seen many generations rise and fall, but none like this. 3 days later, he awoke. Different. Alive. He stood, no longer just machine, no longer just protector. A hybrid. Metal bones laced with biomechanical tissue. Inner jaw forged from steel and chitin. Red eye now merged with the Xenomorph's neural net. Memory intact. Directive altered. Protect. Evolve. Spread. The first of his kind. A new species was born. A bridge between logic and instinct. Between machine and monster. And the universe wasn't ready.